Hey everyone, hello. It's me, Isaya, and today I'm coming live with a guest. So, if you're seeing us live, you'll see the small icon, and that means that you can ask questions. If you're not seeing us live, there's been no icon and then no questions. Let me just deal with a few texts, and that's it. So now we're on. So if you're
Good.
watching live, you can ask questions in the chat. So this is things women don't talk about, a special series in my podcast, Isaya's Inspiring Evenings. So if you don't have a clue who I am, and if you're listening to this on the podcast itself, let me introduce myself a little bit. So I'm Isaya. I'm an artist, magical, pragmatic inspiration mentor, and tech coach. I'm a goddess teacher, a traveling priestess, and I work with the goddesses' archetypes. I facilitate sacred retreats worldwide, and I do a lot of other things. You will find everything about me below in the description of the podcast and everywhere. Now, this series, things women don't talk about, is kind of new. And I love it. I love it. It's the first time that I have guests on my podcast, and I'm really excited about that. The idea is to have a conversation with a guest around topics that are seldom discussed, whether they're difficult or not serious enough, whether they are too mundane or too sacred, whether they are too dark or too light, whether they are taboo or too fun. Basically, no subject is off the table. And the way it works is I get together with someone and we kind of chat beforehand on what subject we're going to address. We don't know most of the time what's going to happen during the podcast. So tonight, I'm really, really excited because when we came to discuss with my guest, tonight's guest, actually, the idea that she suggested was one that is so close to my heart. It's one of those things I've been longing to talk about that for at least 3 or 4 years, but it's one of those things that you don't talk about. So, welcome, Trudy Malins, who gave
Hi.
me the courage to address this very, very difficult topic, the supposed clash between being spiritual and being grounded. So, before we go into the subject, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about Trudy. So, Trudy is a maker of magic in all things. Her hands create magic with her sewing, knitting, and crochet. Trudy also makes magic happen for those who receive tarot readings and for the ones guided to the Akashic Records. You will find any way to connect with Trudy below in the description of the podcast or anywhere. I'll make sure to put the links to everything, and I'll mention that again at the end. But for now, so the subject. Welcome, Trudy. Let's do this.
Just my head is going to explode.
So the plan is to discuss this clash that is very much enhanced on social media between people who are supposedly spiritual and people who are supposedly grounded or materialistic or down to earth. And it's we have agreed, ladies and gentlemen, we have agreed, Trudy and myself, that it is very costly to believe that on your spiritual path, this is not a good idea. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you think it's not a good idea?
Well, I think you'll find that everybody that's gone down this path, there is a niggle in there, because the perception of somebody who is spiritual, who gives tarot readings, who's a mystic or a psychic or a medium, the minute you get that thought in your head of what that person is like, okay, you immediately assume that their heads are in that place. So they're in that higher, the heavens, wherever, that they're communing with the angels, and they're just, everything about eating and being materialistic is mundane, and that they don't need these things. Okay.
Do you realize that even saying that, and of course for the podcast listeners this is stupid, but bear with me, even when you said that, your eyes went up. You said spiritual and your eyes went
Exactly.
up.
Yeah, your eyes.
It's like,
Exactly. Because
yeah,
we think of spiritual, we think of the church and the priests and the reverends and the Pope, and they're all communing with God, and more, and you can hear the monks humming more. Okay, which is lovely because they're all funded by people like you and me by going to church and putting your money in. And if that's your bag, absolutely fantastic and more power to you. But the reality is, just because my feet are firmly planted on the ground because of my family life, because I need things, I need to eat and I need money to live, doesn't mean to say that I cannot mesh the two. And that's the real jangle, because we know that we need to mesh the two. We know that our heads are not in the clouds and we still need to eat, and we don't float 2 foot off the ground communing with the angels. I'd love to do that, but I might go slightly bonkers if I'm already a bit bonkers, but at least I know I'm mad, reality. So, but the minute you say to somebody, oh, I charge this much, they're like, but you're a spiritual person. What do you need money for? Because it's my time, and there has to be an exchange. And money.
And basically food.
It's energy. It costs money.
Food. But the instant this conversation happens, there's 2 things that come to me. The first one is the patriarchy, because we have Father Sky, right?
We do.
So the sky is high value. The sky is where the good things come from, right? And then we have Mother Earth, i.e. dirt,
down,
basically. And it's, for me, that's kind of, hey, mostly spiritual women, can't you see how this is again the patriarchy? Every time you cut yourself from the earth, you follow the patriarchal demand or invitation.
But if you think in history, look at the yin yang symbol. They complement each other. There is a mesh. But I don't know whether it's gone back from the ages. I don't know where it's gotten all tangled way back when, that suddenly being spiritual means that you're being provided for just happens, when in actual fact, if you think about it, if you think about the Buddhist monks, they go into the towns and people will give them their food. Okay, so yes, over there where it's, you have the Tibetan Buddhist monks, and money is exchanged for them to take their boys to train to be monks. So, but it's never spoken about. It's a dirty word in the spiritualist community. And not only that, there is this whole persona that you've got to be a particular type of person. You can't be foul-mouthed. You can't laugh raucously. You can't go out and get outrageously drunk with your friends.
It would be better if you could dress in white and talk with that voice. You see that voice?
That
voice, the angelic thing. I have been told, I'm going to be very honest here. I have been told that my voice is too low, sounds too low for me to be a really spiritual. Can you believe that? I mean, it's like,
what book are they reading out of?
Only sopranos are allowed to be spiritual. Fuck you.
Although what I did notice the other day, I've done a meditation. Well, it was for the summit, and I was listening to it, and I did, and we're going to breathe, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
that
you can.
actual, what was I doing? And you can hear it.
I think that what we, putting our voice in a place of soothing, of calm, to induce meditative state for the person that we're guiding the meditation makes sense. If I was to shriek on my meditations, people would not, if screaming like a banshee is not, but the idea that the level of the voice defines the amount of spirituality is just like, sorry, what?
Exactly. Who put you in charge? You can Foxtrot Oscar right out of it.
And for me, that there is a fear that there is a fear in fear of the dirt, a fear of the root, a fear of the incarnation.
It's the root of all evil. Root of all evil. Look at that expression right there.
A fear of being incarnated. And I believe with all of my heart that we are souls, first and foremost, but souls who've made the choice right this minute to become a body, or to take a voyage
in this vessel,
for a while in this vessel. And so we decided to incarnate. And, I'm the language person here. So I'll remind everyone that the word incarnate comes from the word carne in Latin, which means meat. Meat, like this meat.
Well, we are.
So we are bodies, and we are in bodies. And these bodies are subject to gravity. So they are grounded per se. Although we might try and, float around, we don't.
Yeah.
These bodies need sleep. These bodies need food, and a lot of other things that I'm going to not go into details here. But that means that, the grounding is something that should be innate. And my fear, or not my fear, but my worry for spiritual people who try to kind of disground themselves, like lift themselves up, is that it's not going to happen, and you're just gonna end up very, very unhappy, because we're not angels right this minute.
No, I don't want to be an angel. I'm having way too much.
I might later.
Later, not just yet.
No.
But I think the other thing or problem or crossover is also the language we use, because for us it's every day raising your vibration. I make a conscious effort. 9 times out of 10 I am wearing black, because I want to keep my energy to myself, because I have noticed when I go out, if my energy is free flowing here, there, willy-nilly everywhere, I get randos that are just attracted to me, and they're smiling at me and hi, and I'm like, okay. And then you get home and you're exhausted. So, and I didn't realize, and it was Christy that said about black is the color that keeps other people to themselves, and it keeps you to yourself. So a lot of people unconsciously do that intuitively. But when I think we start using words like intuitive and vibrational and channeling, these words over the years have begun to set us apart. So we took up that mantle, and I'm going to give us a bit of a smack for ourselves. We took up that mantle because we wanted, back in the day, to be a little bit separate and a little bit more important. But it's now become our downfall, because it's so ingrained. And as you said, the patriarchy are taking over to keep us down. But actually, where does all the nourishment come from? It grows out of the ground in combination with the rain and the sun that comes from Father Sky. So Father Sky and everyone else needs to understand that material and angelic, vibrational meets. Of course it meets. That's how you go off into a meditative state. Part of you here is grounded. The other part of your psyche goes back to the other dimension. So if we make it part of everyday vocabulary and part of everybody's everyday practice, we wouldn't sound so batshit crazy half the time, and everybody would be doing it, and it would be so accepted, rather than it just being for a specialist group, because we can all tap into the magic. Some people take it a step further and can explore it more and do different things in different ways. But if we all just realize that we can all be grounded, and we can all talk to the angels, and because when you see the feathers in the skies or the angelic numbers, you go, oh, someone's watching me. Because you say it when the ones all come up, or the twos, or a feather drops at your feet. Oh, Granny's watching me. It's already there.
But there is,
we just need to shove it.
There is, I think the part of them, part of the bashing that goes around from spiritual people to people who are supposedly less spiritual because they're too grounded. Part of it is fear.
Okay.
It can feel if I can point my finger at you and say you're less spiritual, that
Right.
means less than me, who
Yeah.
I am
So
spiritual.
your crown
And so,
gets straight, by knocking
exactly.
me.
Exactly. And I believe that it's a fear. In fact, it's a lack of self-trust, of
Yes.
of faith in my own spirituality. If I need to decide who else is spiritual, it's because I kind of lack the faith in myself to believe that, yes, I can talk to angels anytime, whether I'm dressed in black, blue, purple, or white,
Naked.
whether I'm or naked, for that sake.
That's
Naked
where I usually
angel.
get my
Yep.
messages, in the shower. So yeah, I know about that.
Exactly. So and if I as a spiritual person can trust that from deep down the bottom of my roots, pun intended, then of course I don't need to be deciding for other people whether they are or not spiritual, and whether they are, and there's this thing about being a pillar or a conduit. If you want to be a conduit for anything, a conduit conducts, right, things from A to B. So basically there needs to be a B. You can't just have the A,
just have an
because
A.
then the information does go nowhere.
Exactly.
So I had a few years back, I did tantric workshops, and I was a tantrika, and I had a mystic experience. That's the only way that you can define that, where I was standing, holding a specific object, and it's not the place to talk about that. But anyway, and suddenly I felt like this pillar of light, really, like I felt an out-of-body experience completely. And that was so obvious that the thing was, I was conducting light from up to down and from down to up. It was going both ways.
Both ways.
But it was so obvious that I needed to go, that it could only happen because I was grounded, not despite the fact, but because otherwise I would have just collapsed. The amount of light was way too much for a disembodied person. It needed my body to,
of course, to grab. It's like
basically, we
lightning.
talk about energy, but energy is electricity, right?
Well,
And
that's what I was
electricity
about
is
to say.
energy.
Lightning. When we were in Spain in September, and you get literally a couple of nights, there'll be storm, but you can see the storms out at sea. But they've got and the lightning, it's just streaking across the sky because there's nothing to bring it down. And then when it comes into land, it hits a tree. The tree falls over.
Yeah.
Because it's found its grounding point. And that's the thing. Messages can only get through if you're grounded enough. So if we're all hovering 10 feet off the ground, we're all going to, as our mentor says, Joanna, smell like cabbages with sandals on our feet. It's not going to work, is it? Because you're getting the message, but it's not going anywhere because
I think we might want to stop for a minute and just remind ourselves and others, what do we mean by grounded? So what do I mean by grounded? I mean connected with the ground.
Literally.
Right? It's just as simple as that. Connected with the ground, with the soil, with the land, with the place where I come from, right? Whether I actually come from this specific place, but I mean the earth, and connected to the material world, to nature, to everything that is solid. And that gives me balance, and that gives me power and strength. One of the things that I mention repeatedly, but I'm gonna again, because it seems that we wear plastic shoes, and just as you mentioned with the thunder or the lightning, when it falls, if there's a plastic thing, it comes back up, right? It doesn't work. We disconnect from the ground by wearing plastic shoes. Just take off your shoes for a while, every day, 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. If you can do that outside, even better, but just even inside, and see the difference in the feeling of the energy that comes from above can actually go down, and you are then
Mhm.
traversed by something. You are not holding all this thing. You
Yes.
are then a conduit.
It's an
And it
exchange.
is.
It
Mhm.
becomes an exchange, and then it can,
Yeah.
if there's too much of it, if I'm wandering around and I'm in a bad mood, I'm just like, okay, I'm sending this down to the ground. I'm sending it to be grounded out of me. There's no good sending it into the ether where it can bounce straight back into me. I'm going to send it back down into Mother
We
Earth,
have, I mean,
who is going to turn it
Mother
into something
Earth.
fabulous.
Mother Earth is so good at recycling. I mean,
Oh, is she
that's
ever?
what she does, right? So, for me, in my spiritual beliefs, she is called Gaia, and she is our grandmother. So the grandmother
Yes.
that grounds us, that, the roots and the ancestors that were there before us, basically.
Absolutely.
And
I
we
mean,
are walking on their heads, if to say
not a bad
so to
thing.
say.
Get our toes into the
Yeah.
things. I mean, I'm really new to this, but I know to be connected. I know if I'm not physically connected to the earth, then how can anything pass? It's like having a wire. It's plugged into one end, but if you don't plug it into your computer or to your phone, there's just electricity spewing out.
Yeah.
Not going
I believe,
anywhere.
and I believe that the I have a very good friend who discusses repeatedly that most people take their energy or receive their energy from above because they believe this is good energy. Again,
Oh, wait, I read something about
the
this
heaven
recently. It
thing.
drove me insane. Yes.
And then there is a few people, way less people, who are actually able to grab energy from the ground.
From the ground.
Up. I know I'm part of those people, and it's incredibly powerful, but it can be trained. It can be trained, provided we don't reject it as being bad. And repeatedly, the Christian religion, exactly. The Christian religion has done so much.
So much
So
naughtiness,
much,
trust
so
me.
much. This separation between good and bad. This idea
And
that
man and woman.
it has to be either or. And so obviously then if we're going to choose, we're going to choose good, right?
Of
because
course we
I don't
are.
want to, so
I don't want to
let me
be
pick
bad.
up
I don't want to go to
heavens.
hell. Yeah, I don't want to go down to the ground. But that's how
Being
we
Greek
buried our
myself,
people.
I can sorry, go on.
I said, back before cremation was a thing, you got buried, you returned to the ground and you recycled. You put your energy, your meat, back into the ground as fertilizer so that the ground could continue sending up lovely trees and flowers and fruits and the vegetables and everything we eat. And the church has got to answer so much. This, as you said, good and bad, heaven and hell.
Yeah,
it's energy, it's power. And yes, wherever there is light, there is shadow. So just shine brighter.
But if there is no shadow, there is no light.
There's no light. It's the balance again. And we all come out of balance at times. And that's why is it when we start a meditation, or I know the meditations I listen to, and when I take people on their journeys, the first thing I tell them to do, get those roots out of your feet, get them into Mother Earth and wrap it around her start chakra and draw that energy up, that pure energy, draw it into you and let go of the stagnant. We don't say go up to the sky and do it. We keep ourselves grounded. So that needs to filter through to everybody.
Then we can,
and then we can pull.
Like a boat, when a boat is anchored, then it can,
and I was the deeper you're grounded, the more you can go.
I was thinking about the ancient Greeks philosophy. So they have an underground place for the dead.
Yes.
But it's not hell. All dead people go there. The good people, the bad people, and
everyone hangs out together.
And they have a specific set of gods for that underground. It's called Tartarus, and it's it's a fun place. A lot of people want to go there, actually.
But look how it's been turned.
It's the Christian.
It's the underworld. They've turned it to the underworld, which makes you think, oh, underworld. It's got to be bad, right?
Yeah. No, it's not.
I know it's not.
And I believe it's really this thing comes from fear of experiencing this hell, this so-called hell, and so feeling, that I'm going to do whatever to just connect to the upper parts of life.
Because that's where all the goodness, yeah. And but that's been, I mean, back in the day when we looked to the earth to sustain us, we looked to the stars and the moon to tell us the seasons and to tell us where we were. Or if you were a seagoer, you looked to the stars to navigate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you took from the waters, which is still the earth, for your food.
Yeah.
But then suddenly, it's as we became more civilized and women were the knowledge bearers, people started to get scared of us because we had all this knowledge, and men felt, I suppose, disempowered that we held the secrets.
But it was a grounded, very embodied knowledge.
Yes.
It wasn't a separated from earth knowledge.
No, it wasn't.
It was herbs and potions
and past knowledge, mother to daughter, and it was passed and it was shared, and then it was taken, and we were vilified. And yes, the fear that replaces only men know these things. Men are great for going from A to B because they're black and white. And then we bring all the curves and all the nice bits and the creativity to it and all the lushness, because they're still very logical, going, oh, that's a nice straight line. Yeah, but if we go off down there, we've got them beautiful hills, and we complement each other.
The thing is also,
fear.
We talk about living in the present. And for me, being grounded is also living in the present. So
present moment.
People who refuse to be grounded, and I don't mean that as a judgment. I was in a singing shamanic workshop a couple of days ago, and we had to really embody the singing. So we were asked to stand up and dance with it and really feel where it was coming. And the shaman who was guiding us, at some point she went around and she talked to each of us, and I opened my eyes because it was interesting to see the other people also. We were invited to do so. And there were so many people who were just literally trying not to walk on the earth. So they were jumping, and I could see their bodies not touching or trying not to, the dancing became, and it's, for me, it's like the swimming pool. If you go, I used to spend a lot of time in swimming pools when I was a kid. If you go at the bottom of the swimming pool and then kick with your feet, you jump up high, high. The more you ground, the more you jump up high.
Yes. But why do people not understand that? But if you don't ground, you disappear, and nothing makes sense. And it's just, I don't understand. And we need to normalize it.
For me, there is no power in the floating away.
No,
because we live in an embodied situation right now, all of us, except for the invisible that are around, but the rest of us, we are here. If we refuse to be here and hope to be an angel, well, we disempower ourselves. We kind of,
yes,
and you kind of float away in a way that you then have no power over your own life, over your choices.
Yeah, because it's almost like we're giving over our responsibility and our power for ourselves, because the only person that not can control me, but the only person that could do good for me, and that's my responsibility. So if I want to float around and not take responsibility for anything, good luck. I'm going to keel over and die, because if I don't take responsibility of my material needs, I'm going to keel over and I'm going to join the angels, and then they're going to send me right back. So that's the other thing, I think, with that's the fear.
I'm sorry to bring that back, but it seems that we're circling round and round this. It's the patriarchy, right?
Yes,
who do I trust to sustain me? Daddy, Father Sky.
Yes, absolutely. But then you can see how that's taken into society.
Absolutely.
we take our power back as an individual, which then spills out. And it's not so much that it's a collective, but everybody starts taking their responsibility back. And, you know, I'm going to be news bashing. Suddenly on the news, there's a big scaremonger story happening, massive. And you go, oh, I'm going to get back in my box where it was nice and safe. And I'm just going to just walk around and just feed myself and not do anything else. And I'm not going to lift my head up because the news is telling me it's a scary place, because the government are telling me it's a scary place. And and who are the government? They're all men. Look at them further and further and further afield. And we just go, okay.
You know, it goes with a series of things that even many men are disempowered by the same situation. We are left with an idea that only our thoughts are important, or only our minds, our knowledge is important, and an intellectual knowledge that is very often completely separated from the body. I mean, you know, I'm not going to go really annoyed, but yeah, I am.
Yeah, do it.
I don't know about England, or the UK in general, but in France, the commercials for tampons or periodic things or whatever, the blood is still blue.
We've just changed it literally in the last 2 weeks. It's red.
It's like, sorry,
literally.
what? You know, sorry, what? You know, if we cannot face the idea that women bleed red blood once a freaking month, and that's half of the population of the planet, you know, this to me is a kind of a sign that we are not living in our bodies. We are.
But again, that's not supposed to be spoken about.
Oh, I know, but you know, we're in things women don't talk about, so we can talk about anything.
Exactly. So we can talk about. But yes, that's the thing. But also, I've noticed as well that when you start having your own thoughts, they're telling you your thoughts are wrong, and they're even beginning to tell us what we should be thinking just by those subliminal messages. And then you look around and you're like, what is going on?
That's again when we go to the thing that you were saying earlier on, that grounding means taking responsibility for your own well-being, both physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, whatever you want to call it. And that means if I can put my feet on the ground, and again, you know, this is going to be very, very practical. Grounding is not a spiritual practice. It's first and foremost a body practice.
Yeah.
You know, we can do it in our heads, like, you know, when you guide meditation, you say, you know, imagine those roots. Yeah,
but we need to do that.
How about putting your actually feet on the actual ground, you know? There's a thing there's a very, very easy thing. You know, you just stand up, put your feet on the ground. If you can have no plastic between you and the ground, even better. And then you just put your head, your hand flat on top of your head. And think about your feet. You can do it even sitting down. Yeah. You just do that count of 5 and can feel the energy going poof.
Yes, you can. Oh,
it's amazing. You know, it's a 5-second back to normal, you know, kind of. Okay, bring me back to something that is not a thought or an idea. So if I feel myself freaking out, like I'm you know, sometimes
really,
fear or anger or whatever. Well, you know, I'm a person. I'm not an angel. Hey, remember?
You know, I can see your wings.
I'll do this. I'll do the hand thing, and it's really, really massive because it takes just 5 seconds of our time, and it is.
We're scared. Why are we scared to be human?
Hell.
I don't.
Well, you know, because you and I are who we are, we're going to admit that we have seen angels.
Oh, right. Yes.
And I have to say, they're cute. So I can understand the calling, you know. I'd love to be an angel because, you know, Michael is kind of, okay. Let alone Gabriel. But anyway, exactly.
When you feel their energy, it makes you go, ooh.
Exactly. But I know, and I remember every time that I chose to be here as a human with this body, with its needs and its desires of food, of sex, of going to the loo, of sleeping. And there's so much to experience, you know. Plus, it's not the end when we die. Still
And
have many chances to be an angel at some point.
yeah, I'm sure. And again, that's the thing. But that's the ultimate not taking responsibility and handing it over as well. That's just my life. I'm stuck in this rut. And that's the ultimate in I take no responsibility. But
agreed.
And this is something I've only learned. My sister told me this 30 odd years ago. But Trudy, you chose to come here. I was ready to kill her. We were in Barnet. She lived in Barnet. And I just looked at her and went, I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee. And off I went. And here I am 30 years later. And she like, do you remember that conversation? I'm like, see you. Yes, I remember it. But it does take, because that's a real kick in the butt to take that responsibility. I chose to come back in this time and have these things happen. And I'm just changing the way I react and letting it go and going, it's in the past. But that's the ultimate responsibility. And how scary is that? Combined with being the grounded, and being grounded also means understanding.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to it's scary before you do it. Once you start doing it, it's so much freaking fun.
But once you figure that shit out, Isaiah, go, well, if I've chosen this, it means I can fucking change it. Exactly. I don't have to walk around with the, oh, woe is me, I'm such a victim, I haven't got this, and everything's about robbing Paul to pay Peter, or working from pillar to post, working just to meet your bills. When you realise I chose this shit, it means I can change it too.
Absolutely.
I didn't choose it to let it run by me. It meant I can put my feet on the ground and I can go, I'm making the change, and hallelujah, be feckin' praised.
Yeah. Now, being grounded is something, because being spiritual, we're going to not even explain or defend the idea of being spiritual, because I guess most people who listen to us are or consider themselves spiritual.
Got one foot in at least.
But being grounded is, for me, it's simple things. Like this morning, I needed to go into town, which for me means 45 minutes of driving, to have new glasses, which is very exciting because I need the new glasses, and I got to have new pretty ones, so that's fun.
You got good frames.
It's been raining for 5 days straight. I hate driving in the rain, and I thought, okay, this is going to be hell. I woke up thinking this is going to be hell, and then I thought, why? Let me not. Let me not. It ended up that it wasn't raining when I woke up and I opened the blind. It was snowing, and it was so freaking wonderful. So I waited until the snow stopped. Here, it won't last long anyway. And then I left, and the scenery was gorgeous. I drove for 45 minutes of awe, really awe.
Bliss.
Exactly. And then I actually stopped to make photographs and just, touch
the snow.
Ground, touch the snow, and feel the cold and everything. So that for me means being grounded. It's like I can immediately transform my thought if I go into thought process of this is going to be hell, by going back to the body, to the ground, and to what am I actually experiencing? What am I living right now?
And it isn't hell because it's snow.
No, exactly. Yeah. And it's not heaven either. It's earth, and it's bloody amazing.
And that's the thing. It's changing your thought process changes your reality. Absolutely. And I don't mean, as you say, floating 10 foot on the ground, omming and wishing you were with the angels, because that isn't going to change your reality. Your reality is your 10 foot on the ground and you're wasting away.
You can do that an hour a day.
Meditate. It's great. It's great. You can go places that you physically can't get to. But when you stop, because my sight of auras is coming back, and some out there at the moment with just all the trees with their twigs. When I look at the trees, there is the most beautiful pink haze around them, which shows their love and their life. Whether there's leaves on there or not, you can still see the life. And that's when I go, fuck, I love my life, when I can see shit like that. And that's when I'm like, and I go out and
I think we can go and finish this, because we're kind of running out of time
we'll be here all night.
with the tree. Yeah, we could be here all night, but I promised my listeners that we'll stick it to 45 minutes at a maximum. Because we can do another one.
We will
But
do.
I think that ending with the trees is a very good idea, because the tree is exactly the role model for being both anchored and connected to Father Sky.
Absolutely.
You know?
And they go to sleep
And so
and they bloom.
So it's really, I think, we are one of my mentors, I think she's one of yours as well, Joanna Hunter. Once she said this thing, which was so funny. She said, we're basically emotionally unavailable plants. So just remember to drink and get in the sun, and you should be all right.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Actually, yeah, when you think about it, she's so right.
No, I think it was emotionally bona fide plants, something like that. And I thought, yeah, actually, yes. What do we need? Food, water, and little sunshine, and to stop believing that we are not. So that we are not where we're supposed to be. Well, that
Take responsibility.
So yes, we will agree on this one. We can be spiritual and grounded. If you want to be spiritual and grounded with Trudy, you can, because she has a beautiful website and also a beautiful Facebook group, which is called the Akashic Adventure or something like that.
Yes, that was the one. It's the Akashic Masterclasses, and that's where I chat about what to expect.
Exactly. But I will put all the links in the comments and in the description of the podcast.
Thank you.
Please go and visit Trudy. She's amazing. You will get on journeys. I promise you will get on journeys. And sometimes you don't even need to travel, but you do need to be grounded.
Yes, you do, definitely.
So thank you very much for being a guest today. And we might well do another one at some point.
Of course.
I'm going to end with some promo for myself, which I seldom do, but I kind of remember that I have a 3 parts grounding masterclass. Not masterclass, rather. It's a challenge. So because it does involve a little exercise. So actually doing the things and not just thinking about the thing.
About it.
So it's called Ground with Gaia. And if you want that, I'll put the link to that as well. It's not a very big investment, financial one, I don't remember. And it's so it's supposed to be taken upon 3 days to get back to a grounded state, which will allow you to burst out of the swimming pool even faster and even higher.
Lovely.
And meet Gaia, which is always a good idea. Because, we have the awesome luck to be living off of this beautiful planet that is our grandmother, and that supports us, shows us beauty and so many life lessons every day.
Wisdom.
Wisdom, exactly. So if you want that, you'll find the link as well. Thank you very much to everyone who listened. Thank you to Trudy for coming.
Thank you.
We should do that again. Again. Oh, last thing. If you are interested in coming to talk, not you, Trudy, because you just did, but you, the listener, you want to talk with me about a subject, please, please, please just reach out. I am looking for guests for the next year or so. And any topic is good as long as we don't talk about it. Usually. Okay, lots of love to everyone. Thank you very much, Trudy. Bye.
Bye-bye, darling.